بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمد الشاكرين والصلاة والسلام على من بعث رحمة للعالمين سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. My dear brothers and my dear sisters in Iman, we praise Allah, we thank Him, we ask Him for guidance. Whomever Allah guides, there is no one who will be able to misguide him. And whomever He misguides out of His own justice, there is no one who will be able to guide him. We ask the Almighty Allah to guide us to the straight path, and may He gather us in Jannah with His messengers, prophets, and Salihin, wa hasuna ulaika rafiqa, and they are the best to be accompanied in the hereafter. As usual, my Tuesday lesson, since we've started, I am planning to go through some surahs. We analyze them as we did last week with Surah An-Nas. Today again, we're going to analyze Surah Al-Falaq. I know yesterday the lecture was about Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. Maybe some people will think it's a repetition of what has been said, but I guarantee you it's totally different. I did watch the lecture that was done by our able Sheikh Jai, and also with the input of our Amir, which is Sheikh Dr. Faisal Buadi. And I will try not to repeat what they have already said. I try my best that we stick to the linguistical meaning of Surah Al-Falaq, and then we derive some blessings and some lessons from the particular surah. We connect it to the surah that is before it a little bit, which I've already explained before in Surah in Ramadan. I did explain to you about Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Falaq. Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. Those two surahs, I did explain about them in Ramadan. So what I'll do, I'm not going to talk about Surah Al-Ikhlas, but I will do a little bit of connection between it and the surah that is after it, which is Surah Al-Falaq, so that we will be able to engage ourselves with these surahs. So whenever we are praying, when we are reading them, at least something is there, some meanings will be there that will help us to concentrate in our prayer, so we will get the full reward. And also, you have heard from the Sheikh yesterday some of the blessings of reciting these two surahs and the protections that these surahs can protect you. That is the Mu'awwidhatayn, which is Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. And also, other scholars have said Al-Mu'awwidhat means the three surahs, which is Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah Al-Nas. These are called Al-Mu'awwidhat. All right, so before I start, I know Sheikh Jai did mention the reason why these two surahs were revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I will rush that through a little bit, but I wish I can ask some questions. As I said, my lessons that I'm running in this particular period is like a lesson, just like a classroom lesson. So I would like people to participate. I like to ask people questions and they can answer. So I know people can be able to unmute themselves. I will ask one question first before I start my lecture. And the first question is, if you remember what Sheikh Njai said yesterday, what is the reason or the main reason, the sabab al-nuzul of these two surahs, which is Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas? Can I have a show of hand? And I will give you 1 minute, inshallah, and you can unmute yourself, and then you will answer the question, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, then I'll move on. Can I have somebody, inshallah, who actually listened to the lecture yesterday or participated?
Anyone wants to have a go? Anybody?
Anyone?
There's no show of hand here.
Yeah, Sheikh, can you
Nobody.
just repeat,
Nobody.
could you just repeat the question again so people can get it?
The question is, what is the reason for revealing Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas? Sabab al-Nuzul, reason for revelation. And yesterday, Sheikh Jai did mention about it.
Have we got anyone?
Anyone? But we are not allowed, are we?
You are allowed. You are allowed. Why not? Even the hosts are allowed. If they know it, they can say it. You're welcome. Yeah.
Because if I have to answer that,
I think we've got one.
Someone with hand up. Who is this? iPhone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fadal sister.
Okay, I think this is because the Prophet ﷺ was afflicted by magic by one of the Jews during his time, and during his sleep, he was apparently sleeping when two men appeared to him, and they gave him the two surahs. They read the two surahs, and hence they showed him how to the 7 ayahs, the 7 knots that were knotted against him and thrown into the well. They put a spell on him, sort of. He was so ill that he had dreams of things that were not relevant for him. I think I'm probably going out in tangents here, but I think the main reason is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them to him for a means of protection. So because of the reason being he was afflicted by magic, so that would be for us as well as his ummah to be able to use those two surahs at some point for protection. That's my take.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Okay.
Another hand up again. Yeah.
There's another follow-up question to that, because I know you already said it. So who can tell me these two surahs, where were they revealed? Were they revealed in Medina or were they revealed in Makkah? Yeah. I know yesterday Sheikh didn't mention that, but today I want you to land that. Where were these two surahs revealed? Were they revealed in Medina or were they revealed in Makkah?
I think that if you think about the reason behind the surahs being revealed, it would be in Medina, because when he went to Medina, that's when he had contact with the Jews of Medina. So I believe that they are Madani surahs.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's a good try, but I will not confirm whether you're right or wrong. I will come to that in a minute. Okay. Inshallah. Let me get another person, inshallah. Any other person wanted to input on that? Have they read anything on that?
There was a hand up, but the hand has gone down.
Okay.
My hand was up, but it's gone down. Yeah. Somebody's on the chat. Someone said Makkah.
Okay. Mecca. Very good. Very good. It's a good answer. Very good. Somebody said it's a Makkah. Okay. So it means we have two answers. Somebody said it's Medina. Another one said it's Makkah. They are revealed. Right. Okay, well, let's move on now. Inshallah, I think we've got a good start and people are tuning. Okay, did everybody have their writing pads with their pens, inshallah?
Yeah.
Because I want people to take notes. No. And I will definitely ask questions at the end. And this time I'm going to call names, inshallah. I have the list here. So if I call your name, you have to give me one answer, inshallah.
So,
okay?
Sheikh, can you give them 1 minute to get their pen and pad?
No problem. I'll give them a minute, inshallah. 1 minute, inshallah. Get your pen and your writing pad, inshallah, or your notebook. Okay. This time I'm not going to say volunteers. I'm going to go to the list of participants, and then I'm going to just say somebody's name, and I will see what they will say, inshallah. Don't be scared.
So you need to be attentive. You need to pay attention.
Inshallah.
Oh, Sheikh, you want to put us in trouble?
No.
No trouble. We are learning. That's part of learning. You are in a class, inshallah. You are in a class. I want you to participate, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just concentrate a little bit. Everyone,
it's like a class setting, inshallah.
And a pen and a writing pad. Okay.
I think they're ready with now, inshallah.
Okay, Sheikh. Bismillah.
Okay. We'll start first the the differences of opinion whether these surahs are Meccan surahs or Medinan surahs. We're going to start with that. As one of the sisters said, is some scholars of tafsir said they are Medinan surahs. And the reason for that is that the narration that Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned about the reason for their revelation. That they were revealed because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a magic was done on him. And who did the magic? This happened after the Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. For those of you who know about the Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, it is the time when the Prophet ﷺ took his Sahabas to go and do Umrah, and then they went and they were blocked from entering Mecca, and then a negotiation happened, and a treaty was agreed between them and the Quraysh of Mecca not to fight for 10 years. This is called Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. After that time, when the Prophet ﷺ came back to Medina, then at that time, most of the Jewish people were already out of Medina. They were living in a place called Khaybar. But there's a man called Labid ibn Asam. This guy was a very able magician. He is known. So the Jewish people, this guy is a munafiq. He accepted Islam, but he doesn't believe in it, in reality. He's a munafiq. This Labid ibn Asam. So the Jewish of Khaybar, they have tried a lot to done with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They couldn't. So they came to this guy, this man called Labid ibn Asam. They said to him, you know what? You are very good in doing magic, in doing black magic, in doing sihr. So we want you to help us. And you do sihr of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you finish with him. And he used to have some daughters also. They're very good in it. So he asked his daughters, Labid ibn Asam asked his daughters to help him. And one of the things they planned, because you cannot do magic on someone until you get something, some material things that related to that particular individual, then you'll be able to do magic on it. So there was a young boy who was working in the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's a Jew, a young boy, according to the narration. And then Labid contacted this young man and told him to help him out to get the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this young man went and took the comb of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and took some of the teeth of the comb, and there was some hair on it, and he took it to Labid ibn Asam. And Labid took this and wrapped it on leaves of palm, or what do you call it, date trees, and he tied it into different knots. I know Sheikh mentioned yesterday 7 knots, but in the narration, it's clear in some other narrations, because this hadith was mentioned in Bukhari, is mentioned in Muslim, is mentioned also in Abu Dawud, okay, and in Tirmidhi. So the narrations are different. So you might have some differences in the number of knots or the way the things are mentioned. But the correct one, there were 11 knots tied on the rope where he tied this thing, 11 knots. And those knots, he put some pins inside them, and he went into a well called Zarwan. And this well, underneath it, there was a rock, and he put it under there. And then this started affecting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it affected him in a way that he was sometime thinking he has done something while he haven't done it. He would think that he has been with his wife, for example, while he hasn't. Okay? This continued. In some narration, they said 3 days. In some narration, they even went on up to 6 months. But the correct thing, it didn't go long to 6 months. That's the correct evidence from the Mufassirin. So what happened? Now, the Prophet ﷺ was in this problem, and what he has to do when he's facing a problem like this. It's a lesson also for you and me. When we are faced with problems, what do we do? Do we start looking for other magicians to help us? Do we start to go and say, oh, this person who has done this to me, I'm going to do something to him also? Or do you face your Lord, your Creator? And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. He made dua, continuous dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking him for the protection and to make him get well. And one evening or one night, he was lying down in a sleep. And then two angels come. In some of the narration, they said Jibril was among those two angels, but I'm just going to mention two angels because the narrations are different. So two angels come, one sat on his head, or next to his head, and the other one sat next to his feet. And the one who was next to his head was asking the one next to his feet questions. And then he is answering. He said to him, what is wrong with this man? And he said to him, magic has been done on him. Matbub, that means magic has been done on him. Then he asked him, who did it? Then he mentioned the man's name, Labid ibn A'asam. Labid ibn A'asam. If you want to write that name down, because you never know, I might ask the question, who is the one who did the magic? Yeah. Then he said to him, how did he do it? He said to him, he did it by getting some of the things of the comb of the Prophet ﷺ with his hair, and then he wrapped it. And he tied knot into it. And he said to him, and then what happened? He said he took it into a well and he put it at the bottom underneath a rock. And then the sihr started working on the Prophet ﷺ. And then the Prophet ﷺ, when he woke up, he told Aisha, radiallahu anha, he said, Allah has answered my dua. He has told me exactly what has happened. And then from there, in some of the narrations that the Prophet ﷺ sent Ali radiallahu anhu and Abdurrahman ibn Auf, in some of the narrations, some Sahabas were sent there and they drained the water, they went underneath and they lifted the rock, they took the thing out, and then they brought it to the Prophet ﷺ. And by that time, then these two surahs has been revealed. And what are the two surah? Surah Al-Falaq, which is 5 ayahs. Yeah. And then Surah Al-Nas, which has 6 ayahs. That makes it 11 ayahs. So the 11 knots. It was said that the Prophet ﷺ recited the surah. Every time he recited one verse, one knot is taken off. The second verse, knot is taken off until all the 11 knots came out. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, I became free as if I am freed from a person who has been tied up and then loosened. And he felt normal. And the illness went. This is a narration that says, so in other words, he recited the 11 ayahs of Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. But he didn't mention that the surah was revealed on that day. So some of the Mufassirin, they said these surahs were revealed in Makkah. However, he was told to recite them in Medina as a healing for him from the magic that was done upon him. Others said, no, that was the first time it was revealed. So those people who said they were revealed in Medina, they said that. And those who said they were revealed in Makkah, they said the other opinion. So for me, I support that these two surahs were revealed in Medina. I know most of the short surahs are revealed in Makkah, but these two are revealed in Medina. If you go to the Ulum al-Quran of some of the scholars, you will find out they mention these two opinions there. Right. Let's move on now. So we've known the reason for the revelation of these two surahs and what did they do for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's go into the meaning of Suratul Falaq. And I want you to take note of every word that I'm going to mention here and what does it mean. Okay, and see all the connections that this surah have with the previous surah. Not with Surah Nas. Surah Nas, I already explained it, and I explained about Surah Al-Falaq a little bit on it when I did that. If you want to go back to that, you can go back to my previous video, and inshallah, you will benefit from it. So what happened here? The Almighty Allah told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Qul." And what is the meaning of qul? We've said it in Surah Nas the last time. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say, he's telling you and me to say. So the Quran is commanding you and me also to say. So qul means proclaim loudly. Say to the public that you are nothing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not something you can hide, where you can just say inside your mind. So when they say qul, say, it means you have to proclaim loudly. Why do you have to say loudly? Because you wanted to show publicly that you are a servant of the master. And who is the master? Rabb al-Falaq. He is the master. But let's take that word qul is a command verb. And a command verb, when you obey the command, it means you have respected the person who ordered you. That's one. Secondly, you have obeyed the instruction of your commander, or the person commanding you, or the authority that is commanding you, by you saying what comes after it. That means you've obeyed. And what comes after it, after the qul? Qul, say, O Muhammad, and anyone that follows your footstep, let them say, A'udhu. When you go to the translations, most of the translations of the Quran, they will say, A'udhu, I seek refuge. I seek refuge. My dear brothers and my dear sisters, this translation is not totally correct. You cannot say, A'udhu, I seek refuge. If not, you are mixing it with another verb, which asta'idhu. It's just like when you say astaghfiru, I ask for forgiveness. Asta'idhu, I ask for protection. I seek protection. Remember, the way the verbs has worked there, asta'idhu, astaghfiru. You can see, astaghfiru, I ask for forgiveness. Asta'idhu, I ask for protection. I seek protection. So a'udhu is something more eloquent, more than that. So here, you are not asking for protection in reality. You are saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have given myself to you because you are my protector. I have taken myself, I've run away and put myself in front of you, oh Allah. You are the only one who will protect me. No one will be able to protect me. Not even asking for dua here. You are showing that your humiliation in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are telling Allah, I am humiliated in front of you and I've given myself up to you, O Allah, and you are the only one who will protect me. That is what a'udhu mean there. So you say, Qul, say, a'udhu, I have given myself up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection. And who is that Allah? Rabb al-Falak. Let's start with the word Rabb first. I mentioned the word Rabb previously in Surah An-Nas, and it has been mentioned here again. You know, as I told you in Surah An-Nas, Rabb is the one who nurtures, look after, protect, guide. This is called the Rabb. It's just like when you plant a tree and you are making tarbiyah to Rabbi hadhihi shajara. You look after it, you give it all the necessary things that they need for them to grow, for it to grow, that particular tree. Tarbiyatul awlad, looking after children. You give them all the necessary things that they need to grow up. So that is Rabb. And the choice of word is very important here. Very, very important. My dear brothers and my dear sisters. Allah was able to say, A'udhu Billah. I have given myself up to Allah. But he didn't do that. He said, A'udhu bi Rabbil Falak. I've given myself up to the master, the owner, the one who take care of, the one who is in charge. I've given myself up to him. And I should not worry what is behind me because I'm under his protection now. Because I've already entered under his protection. Just like when you run away from a war zone and you arrive at a place of sanity, as a place of protection, a place wherein you will be able to be protected, or you arrive in a land and that land has given you asylum, refugee status, protecting you from the other. They can defend you. This is just a nearing of the meaning. But imagine the creator of everything. You've given yourself up to him for him to protect you. So that's what it means there. A'udhu, I've given myself up to be Rabbi, the master, Al-Falak. What is the meaning of Al-Falak? My dear brothers and my dear sisters. There's two meanings given for Falak. Yeah? There is one general meaning which many of the Mufassirins accepted that should be the actual meaning of the word Falak. So what is it? The owner, the master of everything that exists from something. So why did you use Falak here? Everything that exists from something. So if you can talk, for example, the rivers have a place where they come from. The rain has a place where it comes from. Human beings come from their parents. So everything that exists in this dunya has a place where it comes from. other than the Creator. And that's what you did in Surah Al-Ikhlas. There you said, Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He hasn't given birth. He has no son. He has nothing came from him, and he has no parents. So it's only Allah that has nothing that come from him. In other words, as a biological something. And likewise, he hasn't got biological parents. So here this surah is telling you, Birabbil Falak, the Lord who owns everything that rips open. Okay, that's one. So you have a seed, it rips open, and a plant will come out of it. That is called Falak. You have the night and the day. The day will rip out open, and then you will have the day out of the night. This is called Falak. That is why in some of the translations, you will say the Lord of daybreak. The Lord of daybreak. So Falak is telling you here that even though you are in difficulty, Allah is telling you there is hope for you, because He is the Lord of the brightness of the future. So you've given yourself to the Lord of the brightness of the future, who will brighten for you your way, no matter how much darkness you have in you at that time, in terms of trials, in terms of tests. Don't worry about it. You've already chosen to say, A'udhu, I've given myself the Rabbil Falak, to the Lord and the owner of all the things that exist in terms of brightness. A newborn baby is a falak, is born, is something that ripped open and he came out. The species, some of them come from eggs. The egg split open and it comes out. That is falak, when something ripped off and it opens. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, Faliqul habbi wa nawa, is the one who split the seed and also the plant that comes out of it. So therefore, you can either translate it to mean Falak is the daybreak, or you can translate it to mean all the creation that Allah has created. That's what it means there. Rabbul Falak, the Lord of all the creations. Kullul makhluqat. So in other words, He is the master of everything that existed in this dunya, whether things we see and things that we don't see, and beyond. He is the master. He is the Rabb. So for you giving yourself up to Him for protection, then you are safe. You should not worry. You should not worry what the plotters are plotting against you. You should not worry about what is going to come later on. You need to have that conviction for you to survive some of the difficulties that faces you in this planet. You need to have that belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the owner of the good and the bad. So see the next ayah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. After He said, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, min sharri ma khalaq. Min sharri ma khalaq. But before I go to that, in Surah Al-Ikhlas, I told you about an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is Surah Al-Ikhlas. In Qul Huwallahu Ahad. That attribute is not mentioned anywhere in the Quran except in that surah. Because these two surahs are connected, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's telling you the purpose of that particular attribute that Allah has, which is as-samad, Allahu samad, which you translate the eternal absolute. But I told you when I explained that particular surah, again, go to my previous video, I told you is the one you go to for all your needs. So here, when he told you, Rabbul Falak, the Lord and owner of everything, that means you have no choice but to go to him. No choice. No choice to go to any other person other than him. Then, let's move on. He said, Min sharri. What is the meaning of shar? From the evil. When we read it, we say from the evil of what he created. Simple. And that's it. You can read it simply, but you need to analyze these, brothers and sisters, for you to understand why this was mentioned. So what is the opposite of shar? Evil. Is khair. Is good. So here, when he said from the evil that he created, I can tell you, the scholars of tafsir said, everything that has been created, these things have good in them and they have evil in them. So therefore, you are asking in the sense that everything he has created that have evil in them, which is not Allah's, Allah made them to be evil, is they themselves choose to be like that. For human being in particular, and the jinn, which is going to come later on with the other ones. However, some of the other things, that is their nature. They have to do that. Let's talk about snakes. Or talk about lions, how they have to attack other things for them to eat. That is their nature. It is their nature that they have to do that. But they also have their own benefit. So you are asking Allah if there's any evil in that, in the nature of the way they are, may Allah protect you from that. That is what he's saying, min sharri, from the evil. And shar is evil that is associated with darkness. And because if you use the word shar, it is something that, for example, if you have a fire, you lit it, that noise it makes, and then some sparks will come out and they burn you. That is what means by shar, that evil. And since it's associated with darkness, that is why you have the shirk. Shirk also is associated with darkness. Darkness meaning misguidance. Because guidance is light and misguidance is shirk, is darkness. Misguidance is darkness. So therefore shirk is one of the things that we can say is associated with darkness. That is why Luqman said to his son, Inna shirka la dhulmun adhim. Indeed, associating partner with Allah, worshipping something other than Allah, is darkness. Dhulmu here means darkness. In reality, when in translation, you can hear them saying is injustice. But dhalama means when it darkens. La dhulmun adhim. it is a great darkness. Is a great injustice. So injustice is darkness. Again, falak, when we mention the falak, you can see when he said Berabbil falak, the Lord of daybreak. So in other words, darkness has to come there before the light comes. And the same thing again, you have the shirk. And you will see shirk is inside this particular surah in the next verses. Then we move on from that explanation, inshallah, to the next one. So let's just go back to shar. If we say shar is evil, bisa also can mean evil. Sa'a also can mean evil. But what is the opposite of shar? The opposite of shar is khair, mean good. What is the opposite of bisa, which can also mean evil or bad, is ni'ma, means good. Bisa rajul, how bad is that particular man? And ni'ma rajul means how good is this particular man. So that's the opposite of bisa. Sa'a means something that is really bad. Again, it's something as bisa. But what is the opposite of sa'a is hasuna, means good, good looking. So therefore, sa'a can mean ugly. Sa'a al-amal, the work that the person has done is ugly. Hasun al-amal means the work looks beautiful, look good. So I'm just trying to make these words join to you together. When you have shar, come in evil, come in bad, come in something that is ugly. So it can contain all those meanings. The shar can contain all those meanings. It can contain the bisa, it can contain the sa'a. Likewise, the khair, which is the good, can contain the hasuna, it can contain the nema. So we've known shar is something that is bad and is harmful. That is what is shar. Bisa, it cannot be harmful maybe. It can be just something that you disliked. Yeah, but it might not be harmful. The same thing for sa'a, something can be ugly, but it doesn't mean it's harmful. But shar is something that is bad and is harmful also. So evil and harmful. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he said, min sharri ma khalaqa. Khalaqa is a verb. He said, from the evil that he created. So him Allah created. From the evil that he created. Why did he use the khalaqa? Why didn't he use from the evil of the creation? Al-Makhluq. Why didn't he use, say, why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil of the creation? He is telling you and me something here. He's telling you, no matter how anything is evil, is under the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is Allah that created that particular thing or individual or that jinn. No matter how they are. That magician that some people are so scared of, no matter how you think he is able to do harm in you, Allah created him. Min sharri ma khalaqa, from the evil that you created. So all the actions that they are doing is under the watchful sight of the Creator who created them. So it can only happen if he allows it. So therefore, you have no choice but to go back to him, the creator who created those things, and ask him for protection. Min sharri ma khalaq. Again, here, this is the general. Everything that you can imagine that exists in this world that can cause harm and evil towards others. You are asking Allah to protect you from it. Then specifics comes now. He's made it general, and now he is making it specific. Why did he make it specific? Why didn't you leave it like that? Because the things that are coming now, he is highlighting them to be one of the worst evils that can exist. Very important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them, and you know about them. The first one, which is specific. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. From the evil of the night, when the darkness has hidden those bad things that people do inside it. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, let's think a little bit. How many evils that happens during the night that doesn't happen during the day? It's countless. Because that night, as if it's covering those evils that is happening in there. Robbery, murder, going into places that is not allowed Islamically, or even in the human race belief, you should not do it. You find it during the night. So those evils, you are asking Allah to protect you from them. So waqab, the word waqab, it is when the night is settled and hide the things that are happening inside it. That is why the Prophet ﷺ advised, you don't allow your children to leave your houses during the night. And you know what happened to the shayateen during the night? They used to climb on top of themselves to go and listen. And Allah uses the stars to pelt them. And the evil things that happen during the night is countless. So that is specific. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. And from the evil of the darkness of the night, when it hides the evils inside it, oh Allah, protect me from that. Then he moved on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moved on to the next verse. He said, وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. And from the evil of the black magicians that blow, and the blow is with a little bit of speed onto or into the knots that is tied to harm the creations of Allah. They're using magic. They're working with the jinn to help them to harm individual, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you and me to seek refuge from them, with Allah to protect you from this type of evil people. Again, here, because from the beginning Allah is talking about darkness, you can see how these people are regarded as mushrikeen. They are doing shirk by doing this, and some of them even worship the jinns that is helping them. So here you can see the darkness again that is on this in this particular verse. I mean, sharri, from the evil that is harmful of those blowers that blows in the knots to harm human beings, which has led them to commit shirk. And as Luqman has told his son, inna shirka la dhulmun adhim. Indeed, associating partner with Allah, doing shirk in any form, is a darkness that is great and huge. And may Allah save us from that. I will come back to this verse later on when I finish the explanation, because there's something I want all of us to learn from this particular verse that is mentioned here. Again, Allah has mentioned after the general one, two specific ones. The first specific is Ghasik, the darkness of the night, when it covers the evils that happens inside it. The second one is the evil of the magicians, of the Sahara, the black magicians, who commit the gravest of sin of associating Allah with partner and harming his creation. Allah asks you to seek refuge with him against this type of evil. That's the second one. Now we come to the last one. The last point. And then we will connect the first point with the last point after we finish this last point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, wa min sharri, and from the evil hasidin, of the envier, either hasada, when he envies. Simple translation. Simple. You know, the problems of this dunya is in this word, hasada. All the problems that we are having in this planet at this moment is in this word, hasada. And that is greed and jealousy. Anything that happens in this dunya that are harmful is connected to this word hasad. Because even the one on the top, if you think about the qissa why the Prophet ﷺ was given these two chapters, this Mu'awwidhatayn, it's because of hasad, because of envy, jealousy, because of greed of the people who were living during his time. That they think he doesn't deserve to get what Allah has given him. And that is hasad. Hasad is when somebody is having something and you wish they lose the thing and they perish, but you are not even hoping for you to have it. That is what they call hasad. Envy, jealousy. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. And from the evil of the name of the doer, he uses hasid, the doer of hasad. This is called ismul fa'il, the name of the person doing the action. So if you say an author is the person who writes, katib. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this particular person is involved in doing this action. It's not just having it inside the heart and keeping it there. If it's that, then no problem. Yeah, but having it and then executing it when he executed the hasad, the greed, the envy, the jealousy. Seek Allah's protection from this type of people, from this type of creation. Again, one will ask, yeah, Sheikh, why is it that in some of them, Allah uses them as indefinite, and in some of them, Allah uses it as definite? You know, indefinite and definite. Definite means something that is known, indefinite, something that is not known. Why did Allah use this? Ghasik, he didn't say al-ghasik, the dark, the darkness. He didn't use the word definite article there on it because al means the. Why did Allah do that? Why did in the naffathati he uses al? I mean sharri naffathati. There he uses al. Again, the Mufassirin did touch on this. He said the reason is that he is telling you that when he uses an-nafathat, the blowers, anyone who involves himself in magic, there's no good will come out of him. No good. You cannot find any good out of it. Sihr, no goodness will come out of it. That is why he uses the alif and lam in that. But in the other ones, which is ghasik and hasid, there he didn't use al because darkness, there are some darkness that gives you good. Let's take Laylatul Qadr. It's in the dark, it's in the night. How many goods we get out of it? So some darknesses, there's some good out of it. That is why he make that indefinite. The same thing for hasid. For hasid, he made it indefinite because certain hasads are acceptable in Islam. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, La hasada illa fitnatayn. There is no jealousy, there is no envy, except in two things. What are they? A person, Allah gave him knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom, remember that? Because not only the knowledge, people can have knowledge, they don't have no wisdom. You can know that fire is dangerous, but you put your hand inside it. That's no wisdom. You know that Jahannam is no one will want that for himself. But you end up doing things in this dunya that will lead the person into Jahannam. That's not wisdom. You have the knowledge, but you haven't used your wisdom. So here, what he's telling you, the Prophet ﷺ telling you and me, that for somebody with knowledge and wisdom, and he taught it to other people, and you wish that you had what that particular individual have, and then you will do the same that he's doing, that you are allowed to do that. Or for a person, Allah gives him wealth, and he uses that wealth, or he splashes that wealth in the truth, in guiding people to the right path and helping people who are in need. Because he uses the word halakahu, means he splashes that particular wealth in helping the deen of Allah. And then you wish, I wish I have the money that that particular individual has, so that I can do what he's doing. So that is why hasid, use it in the indefinite form, because not all hasad can be evil. There are certain hasad that are acceptable in Islam. Likewise, certain darknesses, the night darknesses that are of good. As I've said to you, Laylatul Qadr is a night, but is one of the best nights that anybody can seek, better than 1,000 months of worship. Likewise, the second to third, or the last 1/3 of the night, is the best time that you can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's during the dark time, but it is something that is good. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned these evils. So if you look at them, he started with something that is massive, big, min sharri ma khalaqa. Then he move on to the list, which is just an individual, hasidin, an envier, one person, from large to small. In Surah An-Nas, we did something similar to that, if you remember. When we talk about Rabb Nas, Malik Nas, Ilahi Nas, I did something similar to that. This is what happened here also. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the sequence in that form. The final thing, my dear brothers, before I conclude my tafsir of this surah, is the word falak. I've already told you many meanings for the falak. 2 meanings I've given you, and I'm going to give you the final meaning. And I'm going to connect it to the ending. What is the meaning of falak? In other mufassirin, what did they say about falak? They said falak is a prison, or is like a well inside Jahannam. And the Jahannam is praying. He's scared of that particular prison. So as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling those people who involve themselves in these particular things I've mentioned above, what is those who are blowing in knots to harm other people, and those people who are engaged in jealousy and greed and envy, where they're going to end up with? They're going to end up in that particular prison, which is mentioned, Rabb al-Falak, the Lord of that particular prison. May Allah save us from being among those people who will be taken to that particular place. May Allah grant us Al-Jannah. Right. If you look at this surah, and the surah, which is Surah An-Nas, we have something we call the person who is seeking the refuge, who is asking for the protection. Al-Musta'id, the person asking for the protection. You have the supreme being who will be asked to protect that particular individual. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll have the things that you are asking the Creator to protect you from. And if you look at the two surahs, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, and you look at them the way Allah did it. In Surah Al-Falaq, the attribute of Allah was mentioned only once. And three things that you are scared of, that you are asking Allah to protect you from, are mentioned in Surah Al-Falaq. Three things. In Sharri ma khalaq. Or four things. ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب من شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. Four things. Okay, if you take the other general one, من شر ما خلق. If you don't take that one, it's three main things that's been mentioned. Because that other one is general. Everything goes under it. If you go back to Surah An-Nas, there you only ask for one protection only. And what is that protection? The only protection you ask Allah to protect you is min sharril waswasil khannas, from the evil of the whisperer. So something inside you, one thing. But when you talk about the attributes of Allah there, how many attributes you mentioned? First you said, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, Rabbin nas, Lord of mankind. Malikin nas, the king of mankind. Ilahin nas, the one who deserves to be worshipped by mankind. So mankind should worship him alone. Three things there again. Three attributes of Allah is mentioned in Surah An-Nas. One thing that you are scared of, and that is things that are internal. When you talk about the external things, you only mention the attribute of Allah once. The external ones were three mentioned that you are scared of. And you mentioned the Rabb al-Falaq, which is the Lord of that darkness, or the Lord of everything that exists, or the Lord of that prison that is in the hellfire, that he will put those people who are committing evil inside. If I reach there, I am going to stop there for today. Inshallah, we already have remaining with 15 minutes to our time. Jazakumullahu khairan wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I will hand over to the host, inshallah, and then we'll move on from there.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. Sheikh, yeah, we have 15 minutes.
Yes, we have 15 minutes. We can try that 15 minutes. If they don't have questions, I have many questions. Inshallah, I'll start. But let me give them time first, inshallah.
Yeah, does anyone want to ask a question on this topic, please? You can put your hand up as you always do, or unmute yourself and just, ask a question before it gets back. Oh, Brother Wali is here. So, Brother Wali, you can take over for me now.
Yeah. Give me take a rest today, inshallah. You've been doing so much work. Barakallahu fiqh.
Barakallahu fiqh. I was trying to avoid that moment, but I know you've been waiting for me.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah. Yes, just as Brother Abdurrahman said, I think we'd rather ask the Sheikh's question before he comes to nominate you. Because I think for the younger listeners, yeah, Sheikh, you've just discounted the use of Sheikh Google. No one is going on their phones tonight.
Look, I use it. If they're able to use it, it's going to take them long there.
Yeah,
By the
I
time
know.
they look and say Google, they're not going to be able to find it because
No, not at all. Because everything you've just said, it's not, you cannot find on Check Google.
It's not easy to find like that. Yeah, you're
Right.
gonna.
So let's start with the questions, please. It's that. Yeah, Sheikh, I haven't listened to a lecture as beautiful as this for such a long time. It's the way you just the way you just broke everything down and just expand upon, you know, every single word. You know, it's such a difference. It's anyone can learn from that. So could we have the hands up, please, or just go to the chat and put your question, or the Sheikh will be calling out names. And please, if the Sheikh calls out your name, we're all here to learn. Everyone is learning.
Yeah, we are.
I've gained a lot. Honestly, I have a book here. I've filled like an A4 sheet of paper, and these are things that are that are new, but I didn't know at all. You know, so everyone is here to learn. That's the beauty of us like logging on here. You know,
I'm taking about 6 pages of notes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the thing is, Sheikh can make it very simple. I mean, some people are shy to answer questions on this forum, but again, I think if you cannot, then I mean, we can just learn from each other. You know.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, and I do believe, especially the brothers, us, you know, because I've been in that situation where we just like to stay at the back, you know, as we call it in Sierra Leone. Oh, me, I did back off, you know, all my money back off. We just push the sister and go before. It's just the sisters that ask the question. So let's learn, brothers, you know, as well. Yeah, we've got first question from our brother Abubakar. Assalamu alaikum, brother Abubakar. Is he unmuted?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Ustad Abubakar? How are you?
Thank you so much.
Barakallah.
Yeah, we learn a lot because although I didn't get some part of it because I was attending to certain things, but what I want you to elaborate here, because like the 11 note, he said the gentleman Labil, the 11 note that he did to tie against the prophet so that he can make a black magic. What would that 11 note signifies? Stands for the 11 notes.
What? Repeat again. What do they signify?
Yeah.
If you look at Suratul Falak and Suratul Nas, they have 11 ayahs. Is that right? So this magician had used 11 knots to make sure he is punishing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent 11 verses to counter that. Okay. He used that only to punish the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and make him forget everything that he's doing. Whenever he does something, he forgets whether he has done it or not. Yeah. So he uses those knots and he blows into them for him to do his magic against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala countered that by sending 11 verses between those two surahs to actually nullify those 11 knots.
Okay. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Barakallah fiqh.
Sheikh, can I also ask, why were the names of the two angels never revealed? The two angels that sat at the head side and the feet.
No, as I said to you, in different riwayat, some riwayat they mentioned them. They said that the one is Jibril, the other was Mikael. Okay? In other riwayat, they didn't mention it. So whether now the one that mentioned that is Jibril and Mikael, whether it's authentic more than the one that they didn't mention, I haven't clarify that, because in Sahih Bukhari they didn't mention the name of the two angels. Yeah, it's in the other books of the Sunan that is mentioned.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And you also said that you believe that the Surah Al-Falaq was revealed in Mecca. Am I right?
In Medina.
In Medina.
Yes.
Right. There are other thoughts that said it was revealed in Mecca. So is that your belief, or was it confirmed by scholars as well? Because there seem to be conflicting.
Okay, as I said to you, there's two riwayah between the Mufassirin, means the commentators of the Quran. Some of them said it was revealed in Mecca. Yes.
Yeah.
However, the Prophet ﷺ was taught to recite them in Medina after he was inflicted with sihr. Okay. Others said no, they were not revealed in Mecca, they were revealed in Medina, according to the story and the reason for revelation and that hadith that is mentioned. So therefore, I went with majority of the scholars who said they were revealed in Medina. So majority of them said that. But if you say they're revealed in Mecca, it's not a problem also. It doesn't make any difference anyway. Yeah, because certain surahs were revealed in Mecca, but still they were also mentioned back in Medina because of their importance. The Surah Al-Ikhlas is one of them.
No.
Yeah.
No. And there's a question in the chat to say, what does Mufassirin mean?
Oh, good. What is the meaning of Mufassirin or Mufassirun?
Yeah.
Mufassir is a commentator of the Quran. They call him Mufassir, or somebody who explains about the Quran. Yeah, it's different to the word Mutarjim. Mutarjim is the translator of the Quran. Yeah, so if you say Mufassir, is somebody who goes into details and explain about the Quran, and like what we've done just now in Surah Al-Falaq. We've gone into detail. We've explained the detail and the nitty-gritties of the words and how connected they are and the reason why the surah was revealed. This is called Mufassir. Okay? If I came here and opened only the translation of the Quran and read for you the translation, you call me Mutarjim of the Quran. Yeah? Or if I read it and translate it in a local language, like in Timini, I read and explain the meaning of each word, that is called Mutarjim. It's not called Mufassir. So Mufassirin is the plural of Mufassir, means a commentator and explainer of the Quran.
That's brilliant, ya Sheikh. Jazakallah khairan for that. Could we go with the questions? I'm sure there are questions.
Yeah, there's a question, Wally, there's another question on the chat.
Okay, that's to the host. So could you read that, please?
So when prayers, du'as are requested from learned scholars, does that equate to shirk?
MashaAllah. Very good question. Yeah. I will answer it straightforward. Well, I'm not going to go and start explaining so many things in details on that. If you ask a scholar to make dua for you, it's something that is acceptable in Islam. Okay? If you ask an imam to make dua for you, something that is acceptable, the Sahabas used to do that. Somebody who's going to Makkah, they will ask him to make dua for them. Okay? This is acceptable. However, don't pay people to make dua for you. This is not acceptable. That should not be a job, an employment for the person. Let's say an imam is sitting down, he's saying, okay, if I'm going to make dua for you, you have to pay me 50 pounds, you have to pay me 100 pounds, you have to pay me. You become like, mashallah, like our sister religions that they are selling their deen now. Okay, we don't do that. So that is not acceptable. We don't call it shirk, but we call it that is a grave sin the person is committing, because by making the dua doesn't give guarantee that the dua will be answered. Okay, so you don't have to pay for it.
Someone is asking you, Sheikh. He said, Salam, is there a book that explains the surah like the Sheikh did?
Okay.
The way you explain Surah Al-Falaq, he says, is there a book that explains it as you did?
There's
mashallah.
Only one Mufassir. That's Sheikh Mahmoud.
Right. Very good. This is a very good question. Where do you get the explanation of these surahs in the way that I'm doing it, or other scholars that are doing it like that? Again, there's different scholars or different mufassirin have a different method of explaining the Quran. So if you go to somebody like they call him as Zamakhshari, he uses mainly linguistical, he analyzes each word. Yes? Likewise, if you go to like Fathul Qadir, there's another tafsir they call it Fathul Qadir, which is the Shawkani. He also likes to use the linguistic to explain the Quran. So therefore, if you want to know that, you need to go to this type of books. Zamakhshari, his book is called Al-Kashaf. He uses that, okay? And obviously, if you want to do this, you need to do a lot of research. Everyone who wants to go this particular method, you need a lot of research. You don't just use one tafsir book. You can use Ibn Kathir, you take some points that you need from him, you use another one, Fathul Qadir, you take the other points that you need from that, you go to Zamakhshari's translation, you do that, Zilal al-Quran, all of them has a different method they follow in making explanation. So if you add them up, you're going to come up with a very good explanation of any surah. Okay, and Numan Ali also follow that method sometimes. He's very good in that. If you want to benefit from Numan Ali, you go benefit from him because he really like the language. He like Lugha. So when he's explaining, he also uses that method. Yeah. So for those of you who want to benefit from him, you can go and type about the tafsir of Surah Al-Ikhlas by Numan Ali. Then you will find what he also said. Most of it that I've said here, maybe with more things he added, will be inside there. Yeah, because he can take over one and a half hour just to explain one surah, sometimes one short surah. Yeah.
Some maybe take longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see one question flashing up in the chat there. Mr. Salam. Is magic done by magicians only for entertainment haram?
Any form of magic is haram. That is it. The scholars are agreed on that. Any form of magic, whether it's for entertainment, whether it's for whatever. If it's something, games they play in, as long as you call it magic, it's going to be haram, according to the scholars. Yes? And that's all I can say on that.
No. Have we got any more questions?
Is anyone?
There's one. Shamira Toure.
You unmute yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The question I want to ask, hello. Yeah, the question I want to ask. When you say people shouldn't pay for dua, yeah, like in Sierra Leone, one of my friends actually phoned me that when they do, I know it's not in the sunnah, you shouldn't do it. That when they do 40 days, the imam charge for it. Is there? I don't understand that. They actually charge to do 40 days.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Okay. Right. I already told you that it's not allowed for you to pay somebody just to make dua for you. Yeah. I don't say you cannot give somebody hadiyah, a gift if somebody done good for you. Yeah, you can give them as hadiyah, but it should not be an agreement between you and them. You have to pay them that. Let's say somebody is going to Hajj, and you say to them, "Oh, make dua for me. Inshallah, may Allah help me this and solve this for me." And then you take something, you say, this is just a hadiyah from me to you. Doesn't mean you are paying him for him to go and make the dua. You just give them a hadiyah. Or somebody come to your house and then after food, they made dua for you, and then you give them something like hadiyah. It's not a problem. Hadiyah is a gift. Yeah, it's no problem. When it comes to 40 days, you know what is the ruling on that. I don't have to waste my time and explaining that to you. And you know what the NBICC imams have been talking about 40 days. It's totally a bid'ah, is an innovation. It's nothing to do with the deen. So if they're doing it, they need to avoid it. They need to stop it. Any imam, it doesn't matter whether 40 days or anything. Any imam that is charging people and is telling them, if I'm going to make dua for you, you have to pay me so amount. Don't ever trust that imam. Don't ever ask him to make dua for you, because his dua will never be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay?
Thank you very much, Sheikh Mahmoud.
Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, but Muzaki, yes, you can pose your question.
Wa alaikum assalam. I need to ask you a question.
You can ask me a question.
Well, you ask me first. Yeah, you were on my list.
It's good. It's good. I was going to say, I'm part of Numan Ali Khan's institute, Bayina Institute, and I do a lot of tafsir and stuff with him.
Yeah.
But what you explained, he hasn't explained. So Jazakallah khair. What you said, I haven't heard him say.
Barakallah fik.
It's very different. So I want people to understand, to appreciate you. You're very different, mashallah, tabarakallah. Very, very different. I learned so much today. It's very, very different. Sheikh, I've got one question. Is with the blowing of the knots. I know some people, they're just normal people, like me, yani. They for fun, they go, I'm gonna blow knots, and they take hair, they tie a knot, and then they do these things, just for fun, they say. And I say that you shouldn't do it, because even then it's dangerous. Because, because sometimes they make a play from it, they don't think it's serious, what would you advise people like this,
My advice is that don't involve yourself in that. Abillahi wa ayatihi kuntum tastahzi'un is in Allah and His verses that He has revealed. Are you going to make mockery of? So Allah already has asked you to seek refuge from this type of people. Then why you have to go and make that as a joke? There's so many things you can joke with and make as a game. Not that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I explained is, like, you don't have to be a magician to make an effect, because that could still make an effect. Am I correct? Or
you never know. You never know.
Shaitan can go into it.
You never know. Yeah.
Okay.
Inshallah. Barakallah fiqh for that. Jazakallah khair.
Sheikh.
Now,
we have one of our brothers who lost her sister, Brother Zainu, Sister Tabi in Sierra Leone today. So by the end of the session, we would like to make dua for the sister who passed away today in Sierra Leone, and she's been buried now. Your Sister Tabi.
Okay, is Brother Zainu inside?
Brother Zainu, he is one of us, but he's not here. He lost his sister.
I know Zainul. I know him. I know him very well.
That's him.
May Allah forgive the sister, inshallah. We'll make dua at the end, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Or can we give a few minutes, or we can stop here?
Yes. Yeah, we can do a few minutes.
We could.
No, we have time. Maghrib is not there.
Any more questions? I think, Sheikh, for the benefit of maybe our people, I should say, so to speak. The last points that you hit on, which the last question from the sister before Muzakir, we do get that a lot in our community. To say, as soon as something happened, people goes, obviously in the local dialect is, send money, let them go pray for you. Send money, let them go pray for you. Could you please just say a couple of words and tell and let people understand that you do not need to send money for them to pray for you?
Okay.
I don't think it resonates, and that's something I'd like you to throw more light on, please.
Yeah, as you said, Brother Wali, first of all, we need to know that when we are asking for dua, we are asking dua from pious people, okay? And these pious people should not use that as a business transaction, okay? All pious people, the Prophet ﷺ has done many du'as for many people. He has never asked them to pay him anything and that. Likewise, the Sahabas. Likewise, all the people who are pious need to have their own employment. They need to find a source where they're going to get their own income. If they are imam, let the masjid take responsibility of paying their imams. The imam should not use the platform that he has for him to rob other people. By using that, for example, saying to people, if I am going to do dua for you, you need to pay me so amount. For us who are living in the West here, sometimes our people back home, they use us as like a milking cow. That is, if you want us to do if you want us even to do a dua, you need to pay so amount. If not, the dua is not going to happen. we are going to be disgraced. Something is going to happen. Our family will be regarded as nothing. Dua, I don't say if you want to give charity. I want to give charity to poor people. I want to cook and give the poor people. It's not something that is wrong. But for me to cook and invite the elite, the rich people, the leaders of the community that have lots of money, they come and eat that nice food. And the masakin, the poor little ones, the poor people around the neighborhood can't even get the food. And I'm giving it to the rich. Where's the sadaqah? What of a charity is that? We have to walk according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even the zakat, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you take it from the rich and you give it to the poor. This is a fard. I don't say don't be nice to your family members. Don't help them as much as you can if they need help. I'm not saying that, but don't believe that people can blackmail you and tell you if you don't give them what they ask for, your dua will never be answered. Tell them, you know what? The answering of dua is not in your hand. It's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I want to give charity, I'll give charity. I don't mind. I want to slaughter a cow and distribute the meat of the cow to the poor people around there. Yeah, I will do that. Okay? If I want to give money, I can ask for them to give to the poor people. But the rich people should not be included in that. They should not be included. Because by doing that, you are buying as if you are paying them to become richer, and you are getting poorer, and also the poor guys are suffering there. Where's the charity you are giving? So inshallah, I'm going to stop there. I hope people will understand this. I know our people back home, they are very difficult to deal with sometimes. If they ask you to do something and you fail to do it, they don't mind even cutting you off.
No.
Yeah. They don't mind saying, okay, everything is finished. You mind your business, we mind our business. Yeah. But sometimes you have to use the hikmah, the wisdom, to give them a little bit of advice and talk to them in the best words. Some of them is very difficult to understand. It's going to take time before they understand, but sometimes not always yes, even if it's wrong. Don't ever do that. When you know something is wrong, don't ever go yes all the time and say because I don't want them to get angry. If Allah is angry with you, is worse than if another person is angry with you. Ask the Almighty Allah to guide us.
Sir, do you have time for one question? There is a short question. I don't know
I will take that last question, inshallah. So okay, I will not ask the brothers today. Right. But when I come back in my next topic, I'm going to tell you what it is going to be, and I'm going to ask questions on the previous ones. Please go back to revise the notes and learn more, inshallah. I will start with questions first.
Okay, Salam brothers, can you please ask the Sheikh, what do you read after some terrible dreams?
MashaAllah. Right. First of all, I am not somebody who interprets dreams or who talks about many things, but we all know whenever you are scared of something, obviously you have to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That is something you can say. And if there's anything other than that, inshallah, in my next session, I will add it for you. But all I know is when you are worried about something, seek Allah protection from the shayateen. The shayateen are the worst evil things. Inshallah. Barakallahu fiqh.
Your dua now, Sheikh, before we go for this sister that passed away, and for everyone, may Allah make it easy for you and for yourself and everyone.
Inshallah.
Bismillah.
First of all, we say Jazakumullah khair, all of you, inshallah, the people who attended the session and those of you who are controlling the session. I ask the Almighty Allah to bless all of us. And may Allah accept this particular recitation we've done and this meaning we have learned. Ask the Almighty Allah to help us to put it in practice. Ask the Almighty Allah to make us people who understand the Quran and practice it. Our sister who have passed away, the sister of Brother Zainul, we ask the Almighty Allah to forgive her and grant her Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. All the mistakes she has done in this dunya, we ask the Almighty Allah to wipe it for her off. and all the good things that she has done. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to multiply it for her and give it to her in her right hand on the day of resurrection. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وذكرنا وأنثانا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا. اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيي على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان. اللهم اغفر لها وارحمها وعافيها وأكرم نزلها واغسلها بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقيها من الذنوب والخطايا كما تنقي الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. وجازيها بالإحسان إحسانا وبالسيئات عفوا وغفرانا. واجعل قبرها روضة من رياض الجنة ولا تجعلها حفرا من حفر النار إنك ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. اللهم اغفر لنا إذا سرنا إلى ما سارت إليه تحت التراب وحدنا يا أكرم الأكرمين. بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.